it's a time of changes. Now is the time to move on. This is the time for solutions. Feel the motion. Be new is born. We need all of you. Now I'm connected to you. We need all of you. Be new will do it for you. This is the time for solutions. Be new is for you.
It's 2 p.m. here in Barcelona. We're continuing with the second day of the Barcelona New Economy Week, BNew 2021. I'm very happy to have all of you here, the more than 12,000 of you who are joining us across these 10 events here at BNew and following us from 145 countries. Thank you very much for your trust, and I hope that you are enjoying this event as much as we are in here. Let's kick off with our next panel here at BNew Digital Industry. It's still within the framework of BINDUSTRY, and in this case, it's going to be on the hyper-automation of the industry and how these processes can increase the competitiveness of our industries. In this new economy, companies that have automatized processes are much more prepared to face any future crisis. Automation has changed into being a possibility to really a necessity in this new economy, and the only way to be competitive in this globalized world. And everything that can be automatized should be automatized in order to be competitive and stay on top of this new economy. So all in all, we're going to be analyzing how the combination of different technologies for automation can be supported by artificial intelligence and many other processes. And I'm delighted to have here a top-notch panel with us. So joining us online is going to be Jeff Bernstein and Ana Torres Ramirez. And here at the studio, we have Raffaele Caminati and Xavier Mangol with us. And with us is going to be our moderator, Pepa Sedor Romas. She's the Vice President of the Spanish Association for Robotics and Automation. She has more than 25 years' experience in technological innovation acquired in different entities. So thank you so much, Pepa, for guiding this discussion, and to all of the speakers for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. And welcome to this roundtable about hyperautomation. Okay, in my opinion, we have today here 4 top-class speakers. I think that they have all a great expertise and very complementary, so I think it will be very, very interesting. So first of all, let me thank to BNew to the honor to moderate these speakers. So this session will be divided in 2 parts. The first one, the speakers, the guests, are going to answer the questions I'm going to ask them. And then the last 10 minutes, we are going to receive your questions, and they are going to answer it. So please, you can send your questions, and they will answer it at the end. Okay. First of all, I want to make a brief introduction of what it is the hyperautomation. Gartner has included this 2020 among the top strategic technology trends, hyperautomation. And as each technology that is new or these new topics, there is no one definition, but at the end, all the definitions that exist, of course, has to do with automation and with artificial intelligence. Okay, so we can say that hyperautomation is a business-driven approach that the organizations use to identify, examine, and automate as many business and IT processes as possible. According to Gartner, this hyperautomation will be here to stay, and everything that can be automated will be automated. In a near future, in a long-term future, we don't know, but it seems that at the end it will be. So first, now we are going to the round table and give the floor to the speakers that are the interesting part. But first of all, I want that each one of you will make a brief introduction of yourself and tell which is the relation with your organizations and hyperautomation. Okay, so please, Ms. Ana Torres, who is the Corporate IT and Digital Business Partner and Finance and Commercial Service Director at Repsol. Hello, Ana.
Thank you very much for staying here. As you have said, I'm the head of two different units or departments in Repsol. One of them is related to the IT area. I'm the head of IT and digital business partner for all corporate areas. That means CFO, legal affairs, community, sustainability, global services. But on the other hand, I'm also the head of finance and commercial services, a unit that provides services to the rest of the units in Repsol related to the back office tasks. That means that this is a unit in which hyperautomation is very important. Well, if I have to say something about me and Repsol, I would say that we are in a very challenging and exciting transformation related to the automation and digitalization path, both for corporate and business areas. So the final goal is to provide a financial resilience, flexibility, and of course, agility to grow at the pace demanded by the market. So at the end, hyperautomation is one of the key levers that we used for all of our areas. So, but this is something that we can talk, continue.
Thank you, Ana.
Thank
now, Mr. Jeff Bernstein, who is the president of the Association for Advancing Automation in the United States of America. Please, Jeff.
No, thank you very much. I wish I could be there with you in person. I'm coming to you today from the United States, as you indicated. Our association represents approximately 1,100 companies who are involved in robotics, artificial intelligence, machine vision, motion control, 3D printing, and a host of other automation technologies. Our goal is to educate companies on how to successfully apply these technologies so that they can become stronger competitors, regardless of their industry. In terms of hyperautomation, I think an awful lot of tasks will be automated, but not every task that can be automated will be automated. And the reason is it doesn't really make sense. Think about this from the standpoint of a factory. Well, you want to improve productivity and product quality and efficiency and get your products to market more quickly, but you also want the technology to assist people. And I think as we discuss hyperautomation, we're going to want to discuss the roles of people in the loop and the value that people have, because the future, as we see it, is people and automation working together. You don't want to eliminate people in places where they add more value than the automation just because you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, very, very interesting points. I think that we are going deeper during the session of some of them. Now, Mr. Xavier Mengol, who is the Iberian Zone Industrial Automation Business Vice President at Schneider Electric.
Hi, everyone. So, yeah, working in Schneider Electric for more than 20 years, always related to automation business in several positions. And working for a really extraordinary mission that we have now, that is helping the different companies in Iberia, Spain and Portugal, to really be more sustainable and more efficient. So this is something that it's needed if we want the companies, mainly SMEs, medium, small companies that we have in the industry to grow. And for that, there's hyperautomation and digital transformation are key enablers that are required to really embrace if we want to have that transformation in the industry. So really excited to be in this roundtable.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, last but not least, Mr. Raffaele Caminati, who is the Business Development Manager for International Markets at Eurecat, Technological Center.
Yep. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me in this round table. And I worked in Eurecat from more or less 5 years. And at the first part of my personal life of the Eurecat life, I made some technical specialization in automation, and I was a director of a unit that made advanced manufacturing process, made innovative machines, and above all, worked with several specific topics like microwaves, ultrasound, and this one was a very important thing in automation because this kind of process are the focus of the automation in the last part of my discussion with the companies. And now I am in charge of international business development for Eurecat, and the main aspect that I can underline is that the companies now are involved in innovation and focusing on automation, as my colleagues from US said, is that not all the processes are for automation, but we can make a support on the company in order to detect which automation is the best way for the company. And so thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you, Raffaele. So now let's move on the part of the round of questions. My first question goes to Jeff. Do you think that hyperautomation is really coming? And it will be really an impact in competitiveness that I think that we can all agree that it's true, but there will be any other impacts, jobs, or some other things in the company? So what do you think about that? At the end of his answer, any of you that want to add anything, please, you can do it.
Well, thank you for the question. As I suggested in my opening remarks, I think the people are the most important part of the companies. And so in terms of as companies of all sizes, small, medium-sized, large, increase their levels of automation, I think they'll also be increasing the number of jobs that they have. And it's because they're becoming more competitive than they were in the past. But not only will there be more jobs, I think there'll be better jobs that are safer, higher paying, and again, jobs that people want to do. If you look at traditionally the kinds of tasks that automation do, there are things that people don't really want to do. Walking in a warehouse for 6 miles a day, lifting heavy boxes all day long, being in a welding booth where there's sparks flying, or in a paint booth where there's noxious odors. There's a lot of jobs that people shouldn't be doing that automation can do. And there's a lot of things that people are doing where robots and other types of automation can augment them so that they can add their brain power to the job. So when I look at how fast we're automating in every industry right now, I see this as a benefit to people because, again, the jobs will be better and higher paying in the future.
Yeah, I cannot be more. I cannot agree more than with you, Jeff. Really, for me, hyperautomation and all what's digital transformation and all technologies that we have available right now, they are here really, and I think we have to see it this way. This is a cultural change. They're here to make us better professionals. Mm-hmm. So this is how we have to embed that thinking in our organizations, because it's a way of seeing that technology is not a threat for any part of the organization, but something that will help us to have a better and give more value of what we're doing. So fully agree, Jeff, with what you said.
Okay. And Jeff, what about the SMEs? Do you think that they could reach this hyperautomation, or at the end it will increase the gap in competitiveness between the big ones and the small and medium enterprises?
Yeah, that's a really excellent question. I believe that small and medium-sized companies, because the technology that's available today is more affordable than ever before, easier to use, there are different models. You don't have to invest heavily up front. You can rent equipment like robotics. I think there are so many ways now for small and medium-sized companies to automate successfully that I think this gap that is perceived to exist today likely won't exist in the future. Large companies will continue, of course, to automate, but a number of small and medium-sized companies will win new business because they have automated.
Any additional thoughts? Or? No? Okay. Okay, so my next question is for Anna. I think that Repsol began the hyperautomation path a few time ago. So if you could explain a little bit what the hyperautomation means for your company, can you share some lessons that you have learned in the process?
Okay, thank you, Pepa. We began the path of, I would say, digitization in 2017 with an ambitious program that today includes more than 250 or maybe 300 initiatives, and especially important, a commitment with the analysts to obtain 800 million euros in incremental cash flow. So hyperautomation is one of the levers to do this journey. The first message is that if we must take full advantage of the potential of automation, it's not enough to use a single technology, but an appropriate combination of multiple technologies. Of course, at the beginning, we didn't stay in this stage because we started, for example, with robotics process automation as one technology. But after some months, after increasing our experience, we started to combine different technologies, and we are more or less in the journey of using hyperautomation with intelligent artificial and, of course, machine learning, recognition of information initially unstructured, but structure in our systems. So we have a multiple combination of technologies and platforms. A second message, as Jeff said before, is also important for us in this journey. Here, hyperautomation, automation in general process is done for people, but also with people, because if not, people can see hyperautomation as a threat, and it's not. It's something good. In fact, what we faced with the automation is at the beginning, maybe they have some fear, but when they see what automation can do for them, they are happy because, as Jeff said, there are some tasks that nobody wants to do. So if a robot, an intelligent robot, can do, it's perfect, and we can increase our reach, starting with RPA, but also with intelligence artificial for better decisions. We can have hyper agility. For example, I'm the head of one global service department, and agility is very important to have competitive with the rest of the market. So it's very important to have this agility using these technological resources. And I would say hyperautomation allows current jobs not to disappear, but I would say like energy, they are transformed into different ones that really add value. And I think this is the very important message for people. Your job today maybe is not your job tomorrow, but it doesn't matter because the job for tomorrow, it will be better for you. And this is the key message that we have used in Repsol for our users.
Okay.
We can say, for example, sorry, Pepa,
Yes,
we can
yes.
say maybe some examples of using RPA or hyperautomation, especially in my area, because we have a lot of processes robotized, and maybe, we can say deeper afterwards, but all these sum of robots are very good for our company and for my area, for the people itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very interesting. I think that you have mentioned the fear of the people as one of the barriers, and you also mentioned how to deal with it. But is there any other barriers? Because I think that in such a big company, it's not easy to start a process like that. Because I don't know if which are these barriers that you have faced, and I don't know, with clients, with providers, or just with, I don't know, but it seems to be complex.
Yes, it's a combination. I would say it's a combination. I would say, well, we like to say that we must fall in love with problems and not with solutions, because maybe this is the first barrier. People try to use a technology like the solution for all these problems. But the question is that, first of all, the main important question is to identify our needs, our requirements. And only in this point, we can start with looking for the better technology. And this is one barrier because, especially if we are talk to some vendors or even with the users, they see one technology and they say, okay, I want it, but it's not the case. It's not a question of you want it or not. It's a question of if you need it or not. The second barrier, more or less, I would say, is that before using hyperautomation, we must analyze our processes, because maybe the best solution is to eliminate the process because it's not necessary. So before doing anything, we must say to all the users, even our vendors, that uh, be quiet. Uh, we have to analyze and maybe to eliminate, afterwards to standardize the process, then to optimize, and finally, if the process is already optimized, maybe to automate it. So this is something, this is another message to say to all the users, because it's not very easy for all of us. And I would say another barrier that Jeff mentioned at the beginning is the training, because most of the users, I would say not IT people, normal users, normal people, maybe don't have the technology competence that we need today, in our future. And in this point, for example, in Repsol, we have started a very ambitious program, training program, that involves more than, I would say, 850 people, people in which we learn data technologies, first of all, for everyone in a basic way, and afterwards with a level of difficulty higher, in order to allow that all these people can manage all the technologies that we use. So learning programs are very, maybe it's a barrier not to have the competence, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to train all the people. And I would say that more or less are the barriers. And at the end, I would say that people, when they say that everything is okay for them, and their jobs are different, but continue with the job, they talk to the rest of the people, and at the end, it's like a chain in which all the users, all the areas can see that technology, digitization, hyperautomation is good for them and for the company.
Thank you very much, Anna. Okay, my next question to Xavier, it's like how a company should begin with this hyperautomation or digital transformation, because as Anna mentioned, and also Jeff, it's not just a matter of technology, it seems that it's something else. So I think that a company that yours, that are a partner in this process,
Right.
How do you see it, and how to begin, or how to do it?
So we are really in contact with OT, mostly OT companies in the industrial market. So we have a vision about hyperautomation and digital transformation. That it's hyperautomation. We see it as real convergence between IT and OT world, and it's really related to digital transformation, where we are helping the companies to convert all their environment in data and be able to get value of that data. Okay, so how do we start? First, when we talk with our customers, we always talk about having, first of all, a strategic vision about what they want to get. Is, as Anna said, and it's for small, medium, and big companies, but especially for small and medium, sometimes they don't spend enough time trying to see what they want to get. So sometimes they are investing in technologies just because they think they should invest. But this is not the point. The point is understanding where is your vision, how do you want to grow, how do you want to be more sustainable, how do you want to be more efficient. So answering that, then starting to think, how can I do it? Because in the industrial world, we are not so, in manufacturing industry, we're not so used to data as in other industries are. And we don't realize sometimes how scalable we can do, we can change our business model. Because with data, we can go to very different business model that we're used to. And then we can innovate much easier and much faster. So my recommendation always is start with a vision in mind, but start fast, fail fast, because you will fail. You will fail for sure, but then you will find a way to implement all of that technology that will give you a real differentiator in front of your competition, and then scale it. But always start with what you want to get in mind. This is most important, and forget about if you get money from testing something from the European Union. It makes no sense to invest, even if they give you the money, if you don't have that vision in mind and you don't have a real clear vision where you want to go. This is my suggestion.
Any additional?
Yeah, I agree.
Thought?
And first of all, I want to underline what he said, that even if we find some funding projects, it's important to have a target, because otherwise we are losing time, not only money, but also time. And the time, above all for the small, medium companies, are the main value. And so we need to be focused and above all, define very good the target of the automation.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that as well, if I may. Sometimes, as we've heard, companies want the technology just to have the technology, like bring in a robot or bring in this type of robot because everybody else is getting them. You definitely need to assign the automation to a task that's really important to the company. But I think you want to start with a task that is achievable. You don't want to start on such a scale that you might fail, because failure can create all kinds of other problems, as we saw in the early days of robotics. I've been in this industry 40 years now, so I saw this problem back in the early 80s, where companies were automating everything. It didn't work. The technology wasn't ready. The companies got a bad taste in their mouth about robotics and automation, and then they went decades and decided they weren't going to automate. So you really want to make sure that you're successful, if you can be, from smaller tasks up front before you go all in on automation.
Okay. And what do you think? Sorry.
Sorry,
Tell-
Pepa. No,
Go on.
I was totally agree with they have said, and I would say that, for example, in Repsol, regarding the fact of we don't have to do everything, we have to test some things fast and fail fast. We use one thing. Yes, at the beginning, IT department. mm, mm, Put the money for testing something. This is because of business unit. If they say that the money is not for them, they can test fast something that maybe even they don't believe it. And if we know that, or if we see that this robot or this case, a digital case, failed, it doesn't matter, because at the end it's the money of Repsol, but it's not the money of this business area. So this is something to allow the people to try to test everything, even they don't believe it, because it's not easy to believe that things can happen. So this is a way to improve the number of digital cases that we can have. So this is something that we use. It works, and it's something maybe for an idea for other companies.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. So which part do you think is the difficult? Because we have here about failing. No one wants to fail, but it's not so important as you said. So the most important, I don't know if it's some, I don't know. There are different issues here.
Yeah, it's about starting. Sometimes and I'm referring a lot to small, medium companies, because it's most of the companies that we have in Spain and Portugal. It's sometimes we're victims about our past success. So it's sometimes difficult to change, because we were successful in the past and we think we will be always successful. But we discovered during that last year and a half that things can change dramatically and very fast. So we have to be prepared, because it's not just being able to sell everywhere in the world. This is what happened in the last crisis. It's about being able to be really focused on the customer experience. We see it. Be able to have an omni-channel experience in the customers. And this is we can only get that with a highly digital approach, digital mindset. So there's really very important points to fulfill. And I was saying before regarding the how do we have to test and fail fast. I agree that it's better not to fail, but if we want to innovate, for sure we will fail sometimes, and we have to be ready, because the culture, at least in south of Europe, it's not really focused on failure. Failure is not well seen. In other cultures, that failure is better. I mean, is better seen by the general culture of the place.
Part of the process.
Yeah,
no?
right. And here, there's one thing that is very important. That it's ecosystem. We are in a new area where no one can do the things by their own. It's impossible. In any organization, no matter how big it is, there's always more talent outside than inside the organization. So here it's really important, especially it's something that it's even more important for small and medium companies. Let's work in an ecosystem. Let's have the right partners. Let's find the right partners. Don't be focused on doing yourself everything. It's impossible to scale and to grow at the pace the world will require if you are focused on yourself. You have to look outside, try to find the best partners, try to innovate where you are strong, but let's collaborate with the others to really get that hyper-automation and digital transformation that you have to do in your company.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. Now, Rafael, for complementing what Xavier was saying, I think that hyperautomation comes together with innovation, since it means transformation, and also investment. Innovation means also risk. You are always facing risk. So in which way the organizations should face this risk, or can minimize it? Or
Yeah, according to what everybody said in this table, There are several aspects to be understood before starting with automation. The first step, I think that, as Jeff and also Anna said, that we need to study the process before making any kind of automation, because we need to understand what is the real aspect that will increase the competitive advantage of the company. And I think that the first step should be define one part of the process and study this kind of process with some proof of concept or maybe some trial inside the process. And mainly when you need to change a physical process in a digital process, this kind of investment should be high, because you cannot be you cannot see what is the real cost that you are facing if you continue with the physical process. And so you need to understand also that automation from physical to digital should be a very interesting aspect in terms of time, people that can be involved in other projects and in other maybe productions. And also you can be very fast for avoiding sometimes failure, because if you make some simulation in a digital form before making some production, you can avoid failure. And so sometimes automation can increase also the reduction of the failure.
Okay. Okay, and a question for you, but of course the others could complement. What do you think will be the major innovation, the new trends that are coming in the next months? I think nobody can go ahead, no?
It's a good question, and I think that will be shared with everybody, because in my point of view, in our jobs, and above all discussing with our customer, we say that if you have an idea, we can go on with this idea with an evaluation, validating the target. And I think that, for example, in automotive and in electrical devices, with a mass production, the automation is already introduced and everybody is knowing very well what is doing. And in another point of view, for the small, medium companies, there are only some part of the projects that they are doing automation. For example, quality, inspection, and in this aspect, the small, medium enterprise are investing a lot. And sometimes artificial intelligence and also machine learning is applied for maintenance, not only for the production process, but only for maintenance. For example, predictive maintenance is very spread now in the market. And I think that also in construction, there are a trend now in which the companies are producing inside the workshop for then installing the pre-assembled devices in the construction. And so the trends are moved and are changing very fast. And I think that people culture, that is a basic of the automation, must change together with the trends.
Okay.
Yeah, in my point of view, there's an overall trend that is really touching really hard all the industry, that it's the convergence between OT world and IT world. Really, this convergence is breaking the silos of the organization. And this is a huge transformation, because in the industrial world, we have been, more siloed than other parts of the economy. We especially when we talk about how the operational people interacts with IT people, it has been always some kind of barrier. And the fact that that barrier are being broken, it's really amazing, because it's creating a new culture in the companies where we can interrelate the data of every part of the company and also integrate it in very well in the IT systems. And it's really creating values. The company that, when I see company that it's doing this transformation is really putting all their OT data in context, and they are able to really make it accessible to all company, they are really creating the foundation of what we were saying before, that be able to use that data to create value everywhere, from the design to operation to maintenance to the final end of life of all the products and facilities. So it's really, for me, it's the main trend is this convergence in the power that data it's taking in industry.
Interesting point, yeah. Okay.
Yes, I agree also, especially related to the use of data. I think that data is, well, is the main lever, the main factor for all the companies, as they have said, for all the business units, all the sectors will use data for taking better decisions. So I would say that to have a platform in which you can have all the information that you need with different origins, with different starting points, starting systems, I would say that the use of this data in an intelligent way, we can say artificial intelligence, for example, all the analytical cases in order to do the decisions more predictable. So far, we are in an analytical descriptive, but we can pass to another analytical of data, and this is predictable and prescriptive. And that means that you will use the data not only with the information that you already have in the systems, but also with a different analysis of this data in order to predict something in the future. So it's true that data is very important in all sectors, in all processes, and maybe the combination of every technology of automation with the intelligent use of data will be maybe the future, and maybe all the companies that I think that we must think about this point as a key factor for taking the best solutions for the future.
Yeah, data, of course. I have
Data.
one question from the audience. Which principal points would you say that made a company realize they need to start an hyperautomation process? Who wants to to answer the question?
Well, I'm happy to weigh in
Okay.
on that. I mean, I think if you look at major companies, large companies, some of them take the approach, look, we've got to become more automated in order to compete globally. Now, we've seen all these supply chain interruptions recently, products that were manufactured maybe in Asia. Now looking at, can we use automation to manufacture these products in our home country, whether it be in Europe or North America? So from a big company perspective, this is a way to get competitive. For a small company, it's often a way to stay in business because it's not just competing with somebody nearby, but it's competing globally. And they have to look at this as one of the biggest drivers right now, we can't find people. So regardless of industry right now, companies are struggling to find people to do entry-level jobs or even more advanced jobs because they don't have enough people with the skill set necessary. And so if they don't automate, they may not even be able to stay in business. So this is a real problem here. And I think it's probably not being addressed enough, this idea that one of the biggest drivers to automation is the inability to find people.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, from my point of view, I fully agree also with what Jed says. I think it's, I mean, if we're thinking if we have to really hyper-automate our companies, maybe we are late. So it's about, I mean, and for me, it's about three things. It's about leadership. This should be something that it should be driven by the CEO. And it's very important, the role of the CEO here in this transformation. It's also driven about talent. And we have been talking about people, but it's very important that to understand that we need talent, we need to develop our talent, and also we need to attract talent. If our company is not really going ahead, the talent is not going to come with us. So it's if we want to get the talent we need, we also need to really have that culture of wanting to be ahead and wanting to be transforming the market, and also culture. Culture. We have been talking about culture, and culture in the industry is very important. It's we have to create a open culture. We need to the ecosystem. We need to understand that it's time to share, not time to protect everything. And with these three elements, with leadership, with talent, and with culture, I think it's a good combination to start that transformation of hyperautomation and digital transformation.
Okay, we have some time. I think that one question, just curiosity, do you think that this COVID pandemic has accelerated this hyperautomation needed or not, or do you think it was happening before and it's going on?
I think it was happening before, but it has definitely been accelerated. I mean, just mentioned the inability to find people. Well, during the pandemic, even if you had people, it was difficult to bring them into work. A lot of workplaces, people were sick. You couldn't get a full staff of people in the company. So automation really helped out in that capacity. It helped create social distancing. It helped disinfect the workplace. So there were all these needs for automation. Companies were using automation to create the personal protective things that we needed, like masks, helped create and ship the vaccines that have protected so many of us. So, I mean, I think that this has really opened up people's eyes to what automation is capable of in the workplace.
Yeah, in my experience,
Yes.
Sorry, Anna. What I see in my customers' discussion is that they wanted to change the point of view during the COVID. And what happened? It happened that they tested the digitalization mainly with the relationship with the people. But after that, they tested also the distance between the process and the people. And so I think they underline and could be faster the process of changing from current situation and automation. Yeah. I think that COVID pushed a little the process.
Yeah, but we are in the danger that probably now we think we are really digitalized and we have done it with no plan, with no, just in a very fast way. So now we should rethink and do it good, no?
Yeah,
I suppose that this also it's important.
Some companies that before didn't think about automation, now they are thinking that should be applicable. And so they are testing different kind of point of view.
Yeah, but let's hope that they rethink the process, not just in the hurry of the pandemic. Anna, I think that you were near to say something.
Well, it's only to point it out the same in our case. We started in 2017, 2018, but it's true that with the pandemic, maybe we have experienced an acceleration about the automation. Is like they said before. I think that if you don't have this previous experience, it's more difficult to start during the pandemic because the circumstances are very complex. But if you have started this journey before, the pandemic is only something to accelerate, but it's not enough. You have to start before because you need to have all the circumstances, the basic circumstances. And well, I would say if there is a company, not a big one, that have not started again, it's time to start because we are, I suppose, at the end of the pandemic. So it's a good moment to think about it, the way to automate, but they have to think in their processes. This is very important. And well, it's the best moment to start because we know that we need it and we have now the best circumstances to start again. So it's a good moment for all of the companies that are thinking about this topic.
Yes, thank you, Anna. To close the session, for me, some echoes of what we have been talking. One is this, that hyperautomation will make us better professionals. I think that this could be one of the sentences important. Also, the importance of the data and also the artificial intelligence has been very, very present. So I think that we can close the session here. Many thanks to all. I think it has been a very, very interesting, and many thanks.
Thank you very much, Pepa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pepa, and thank you very much all the speakers for a very dynamic, a very thought-provoking, and also a very forward-looking conversation. We only haven't talked about the present challenges and present opportunities, but these trends of the future and what we need to be looking out to. So I think it's been a very, very insightful conversation that we just had here at BNU Digital Industry. It's almost 3 p.m. We're going to be back in 10 minutes at 3 with our next session under the Be Digital umbrella on advanced IT architecture and neuromorphic engineering. Seems like a really exciting one, so make sure not to miss it. And yeah, meet you in a few minutes.